And welcome to the Music Empire. And once again, we have met for another lesson today. So in this lesson, we want to understand how we can play Ghanaian worship songs as keyboard players. But then this lesson will be beneficial for everybody, not only Ghanaian keyboard players. Just that we are using Ghana worship songs as our reference. Okay. So I believe you watched the song I just played, Ohene Tiseo. It's a very popular Ghanaian worship song that we sing in our churches. Yes, and you could clearly see that there was a certain style to it, and that is even what this whole lesson is about: understanding the style and the concepts behind worship songs. And of course, I will also break down what I played in that song for you as well. But before then, let's get into how to play worship songs. So when playing worship songs, the first thing that you have to consider is the culture. Okay, the culture, the tradition. It's very, very, very important. You should remember that you are not doing this for yourself, or you are not even doing this alone, but you are rather ministering unto people. So you can't just ignore the kind of people that you are playing for, or you can't just ignore the congregation and then do things your own way. You can take a look at Ghana, for instance. In Ghana here, we have a certain culture pertaining to our worship songs. Now, I believe if you go to another country, there will surely be a different way or a style that they use to approach their worship. And even in Ghana here, different churches have different cultures, right? Or different churches have different traditions relating to worship. There are some churches that you can't go and play grand piano. I mean, use the grand piano tone over there. They prefer purely strings, pure strings, and nothing else. That is what makes them feel like they are worshiping. If you come to Ghana, for instance, you realize that for most of the local songs that we play, we utilize a lot of parts or strings and just a little amount of EPs. Most especially the Galaxy EPs, the Dino EPs, and the rest. So you barely hear grand piano style of play in a typical Ghanaian worship song. So what I did was a typical Ghanaian worship song. So you see, this is what I mean by culture. Now the next thing I want us to talk about is the voice or the tones that you'll be using to play the worship. Let me put it in a very simple way: the sound that is coming from your piano, which is the same as the voice or the tones that you'll be using to play. So different cultures will require different tones. So earlier I talked about a certain type of worship requiring only piano, and then a certain type of worship requiring only strings or parts and other instruments as well. So if you take a look at the song I just played right now, Ohene Tiseo, at least you can guess that I used or I combined strings and parts and just a little EP. Now, sometimes in the comment section, a lot of you will be asking, what tone did you use, what voice did you use, and what tone did you use? Well, let me put this across. It is not really about the particular tone I'm using. That is very important here. But you see, even when you look at your keyboards, when you look at your pianos or keyboards, you clearly see that these voices or tones have been grouped into categories. It's more important for you to know the category more than the name, because we have a lot of keyboards in the system. So we have the brands from the Yamaha, and we have the Rolands and the Korgs and the rest. Now, if you have played a lot of keyboards, you realize that even the names of the pianos on the Roland is sometimes different from the names of the pianos on the Korg, or the names of the pianos on the Montage. You see, so this I'm using a Montage right now, and I tell you that, oh, I'm playing Concert Grand. Depending on the keyboard you are using, you may not see Concert Grand, but you see another name. So I'm even using this platform to answer this question in general. All those who ask sometimes the kind of tones I use. The truth of the matter is, I would advise you to focus on the category rather, because your keyboard might be different from my keyboard. And even when it comes to softwares, maybe your software or your plugins might be different from my plugins. So if you hear something like this, normally when I hear somebody playing from a video or an audio, the first thing I do is to identify the category. So at least for something like this, I can guess that there's a pad and there are strings in it, right? And I can even tell that the pad is warm, and then the strings too is warm, kind of, not that sharp one. So what I'll do is I'll visit my keyboard, look for the warm pads or strings, and then play and then listen to the audio that I loved the tones from, and then see the one that best matches. Or sometimes what I do is I combine tones together, or I combine voices together. So I can combine. So for what I'm doing right now, I've combined strings and pads, and I have even combined two different types of pads with two different types of E-pianos, the Dino EP and then the Galaxy EP. And you see, you can clearly see that I have reduced the volume of the EPs. So unless I hit the keyboard very hard, you may not even hear the EPs at all. Yeah. So this is also a style. Yeah. So you listen to something like this, and then you go and then you take a look at your keyboard, the EP category, look for the ones that fit. Then the next thing that you can do is to combine tones. And I can assure you that just by sitting down and combining tones or voices from your keyboard or from your software that you are using, you can even come up with wonderful sounds that you could never even imagine. So this is what people do, and they give birth to new sounds that you love. Yes. So I would encourage you to do that. And this is also a form of ear training, the ability to even identify tones and all that. So from what you have read right now, try and produce the same thing on your keyboard, and let me know in the comment section below. Try and produce the same sound, because these are common tones that you can find on every keyboard. Even with Yamaha PSR, even if you are using PSR, you can find all these tones. So I know what I'm talking about. Okay, now the next thing I want to talk about will be chords and licks that we utilize in worship songs, depending on where you come from. So some worship songs will require you to use very simple chords, basic, tries, then sometimes one or two diminished chords, and it's enough. Like the song I played right now. Okay, so like very simple. We will learn the chords very soon. Very simple. Whilst some worship songs will require you to use heavy chords. If you don't use heavy chords and even more licks, the song will be very dry. But for a Ghanaian worship song like what we just did, especially in the Ghanaian dialect, these are the tones we mostly use. And then we employ a very simple style of play. No matter how good you are, no matter the number of chords you know in this world, the word discipline is very, very important here. So, there's not a time for you to be doing something like those kind of funny stuff, or be running scales. No, that's not the time. Like, the time will surely come. Because as I'm sitting here right now, imagine I don't discipline myself, then, and I decide to flow with what is inside me. I won't consider the congregation or the nature of the song or the culture or anything. Then I can go like, so this boils down to the nature of the song you are playing. So like I'm saying, in a typical Ghanaian worship song, you don't utilize big chords. Unless the person is in Ghana but singing a foreign song, yes, that is when you do. And in the upcoming lessons, we will do a demonstration of that. Or unless you want to also do a rendition of the same Ghanaian song, but this time you are doing a rendition of it. So when you are doing a rendition of it, then you have the freedom to manipulate it how you want. So we can take this same song that we played, the Ohene Tisel, and manipulate it in such a way that we can even use only pianos. At this time, no strings or EPs or anything, only piano to make it to make it look like a foreign gospel track, but without the English language, but another language. Okay, so in the upcoming lessons, we will do such a demonstration for you to see as well. So you don't just get up and then do that. It depends on the environment and where you are. Like what I said in the beginning, your congregation is and the culture and the environment you find yourself in is very, very, very important.